London at the Edge of Time special became so memorable to the fandom as it accomplished the viewer's emotional attachment to the characters in such a short amount of time. It exceeded in all areas expected and reached the core of our hearts through its beautiful animation and by the portrayal of the characters' complex emotions currently experiencing. This being one of the most gut-wrenching, heartbreaking specials that the show has ever done. In today's video, I will be analyzing the special, talking about the good, the bad, and the impact it left on us and on the show. So, let's start. I want to give a proper introduction to the analysis by giving its rating. For me, this special is a 9.5 out of 10. As I mentioned, most of the complex topics that the special went through and the reaction of each character was stated thoughtfully. Though I still have a particular issue with it that I consider a matter of discussion. Anyway, let's start with the analysis. I am pleased with the representation of the emotional state of each character against this extremely complicated situation. It explained the characters' motives and reasoning and how their state of mind incredibly affected their decisions and reactions. First, I want to talk about how the tone of the special was set. From its interesting, fresh-feeling intro, where we see who seems to be Ladybug trapped, trying to escape the curse she has fallen into. And we see that where she's trapped is inside the Gabriel statue, foreshadowing all the lies she would have to cover up in his name. Then the Tsurugi logo, and finally we move on to the unexpected appearance of Lila in the first scene. As then we move back in time to the series of events that we were just left with in the finale. I love this transition so much because we start off the episode with something unexpected and chaotic looking, to then seeing Bugnoir in London. The space being more quite chilly and you could visually see the tension. I absolutely love this whole scene sequence because we see Marinette as Bugnoir being absolutely traumatized about what just happened, being forced to break the news to her boyfriend as the voiceover in the back rejoices over the fact that harm has been fixed. All of Paris is safe and this nightmare navigating in the world has officially come to an end. But as we observe Bugnoir's expression, we don't get that impression at all. How these events left a mark on her. How this is an ongoing nightmare without end. How the world is fixed, but not her heart. Like how she said in the episode Glaciator 2, in real life, your heart gets cataclysm and no magical ladybugs could repair that. She is carrying the world on her shoulders, damaging herself in the process. Her numb expression in the special as a whole is a visual representation of someone who's just over everything. It's such a horrible thing to deal with this and at such a young age. In relation to that, in the special, we saw so many parallels to past episodes and so many foreshadowings, which I'll slowly get into. But one that got my attention was the one inside of the special where Marinette keeps getting flashbacks of the final fight with Gabriel, as a way to show what is going on her mind, as a way to cope and fully convince herself that this was the right thing to do, even if she is pushing aside her own feelings and past experiences with him. And what is absolutely heartbreaking about this is that even in Gabriel's last minute, he got to play with Marinette's mind, and this is proof of it. He got advantage at the situation by knowing how deeply she cares for Adrien, how she's willing to do anything for him. He planted guilt in her mind, left her with this big burden and mist of confusion, and just escaped his actions by dying. He got to convince Marinette that telling Adrien the truth would be worse than lying to him because of how he might feel. I want to remind you how fresh all of this information is in her head. She saw Nathalie die, the world turning against her, the corpse of the mom of her boyfriend, had to find out that the one who took her childhood away was her boyfriend's father, who also lied to him, then got manipulated later on to then watch him die, and then being played to hide all of this from everyone in just one day. And she is aware that it is wrong. Her gut feeling tells her so. And what is just crazier to me is the scene later. Once we see exactly what happened after Marinette figured out what was his wish, where everything feels like a blur. Which is why she didn't even hesitate to transform in front of Nathalie. But the scene that got me in tears, that completely shattered my soul, was this one. She started to blame herself. I want to use this tweet as a reference because it is exactly what Marinette is going through. She witnessed one's death in front of her own eyes, taking full responsibility on something she couldn't even control. Her spark fades away as we could observe, and having the burden to deal with this alone. Then we see Marinette say this: I tried to save him. I tried to reason with him for Adrien's sake. I thought we could work on a solution together and, but now Adrien doesn't have a father because of me. Adrien's all alone because of me. No, guys, I can't. It's so sad. As she breaks into tears, drowned in self-blame. This portion already makes me feel so sorry for her. She's under so much pressure and under so much shock. The words she says next make me feel ill. She starts to break down and mentions how she should have made the wish for Adrien. Then Nathalie asks her, what would she sacrifice? And she says, myself. And in the French dub, it's even sadder because she says, my life instead. This scene is actually another parallel to the finale, when Gabriel said to Bugnoir if she's willing to give away her life for Adrien and take his place for the sake of Adrien's happiness. Which this scene is even sadder when you realize that he implanted that thought on her head. The blame and the guilt is eating her alive. She would have died for Adrien. She's willing to give up her life for him, her memories, leaving her loved ones behind, adding a whole other layer of context. Like, I need you guys to understand how heavy it is that a 14-year-old child wishes that she sacrifice herself for Adrien's happiness because of how overburdened she currently is by her surroundings. A child is having this sort of thoughts, and that makes me physically ill. Like, guys, they're both willing to die for each other. Close enough. Welcome back, Romeo and Juliet. The way that after this she goes to delete all evidence in the basement because of the events that just occurred with such a numb expression. And then comes this scene, which is so compound, and it's something we need to unpack. This scene focuses on Marinette finding out exactly what was Gabriel's plan before the fight occurred. She found out about unknowing allies, the reconfiguration of the miraculous, the fundamentals of his plan, and most importantly, where he hid Adrien. Her face says it all here. This scene is so hard to digest because we can see an unaware Adrien screaming in anger at his dad, not knowing he's dead. Marinette is expected to tell him about the death of his father. Her, that just like him, is still processing this through. Nathalie asks her what will she do with this information regarding to Adrien and the world. And can we just talk about how insane that is? That a child is forced to make such a big, mature decision that impacts the lives of everyone, people close to her. Where she has to think about bringing people to justice, who, by the way, are the parents of people she dearly cares about. She is in such a vulnerable position, but then she's expected to act tough, now process things through, and break the news to everyone, having no idea if what she's doing is right, because her head is a big pile of mess. After all the condiments that raised confusion and fuzziness to her mind, ended up leading to the moral cost on making it hard to see what is actually the right choice. And guys, trust me when I say this whole scene is foreshadowing for season 6. It's foreshadowing irony. Which, by the way, applaud to the writers because this whole dialogue is so intimidating. I love it. She words here that only Ladybug holds the truth, that the world will only believe about what Ladybug would say, that her words will be truth. But obviously, we know that is not true. Lila knows about Monarch, and I am sure she will expose the truth where Ladybug is at her weakest. Yes, Marinette lying is wrong, and she is aware of that. She is beating herself up with a lie she can't even bear. Also, the parallelisms we can notice with this particular scene is crazy. How we're slowly observing Marinette become what she despised, just in different circumstances and intentions. We see Gabriel and Lila both saying how they make people believe what they want them to believe. And they are both talking to Marinette in these specific scenes. Another parallel is the next upcoming dialogue after this, where Bugnoir says that Marinette can tell Adrien something that only Ladybug is supposed to know. And guys, let me hold your hand when I say this. The foreshadowing is going to be crazy. I am going to go more into this in my season 6 theory video, but this proves my point on why I think the reveal needs to happen next season. This scene itself holds so much foreshadowing at how Adrien will react when he finds out that the person that he loves the most lied to him. It's what will cause everything to be connected to her. Just one slip up and it's all over. Nathalie's reaction in this whole scenario sequence is another parallel to a past dialogue with Gabriel and herself, where she tells Gabriel that for how long is he going to be keeping Adrien in the dark, because the more time he waits, the harder it'll be on him when he finds out. Nathalie's reaction on Marinette's decision to lie to Adrien caused a familiar expression on Nathalie, as she has seen this play out in the past. Because Nathalie knows that the deeper the lie stamps and soaks in people's mind, the harder it'll be on them when the truth comes to light. It's been pretty much confirmed that these Marinette and Gabriel parallels have all been intentional, as Thomas stated on socials. This just makes me even more excited to see Marinette akumatized. Like, this just makes her so much more capable of a corrupted fallen hero arc. Like, I need to see it happen. She has every element needed for that to turn true. Also, another detail is that when she says that she will only tell him half the truth, If we analyze the shot, we can see that the background lighting is split in half, as one part of it is covered by a shadow, referencing this dark secret she's going to keep, and the other part is light, referencing the truth. Shout out to this person that noticed this interesting feature. In another note, let's break down Adrien's side of the story in the special. Let's start with this sequence as well. Even if Adrien didn't have that much screen time in the special either, the scenes that we got to see of him delivered perfectly what needed to be delivered from his character. For example, in this scene, this comes right after Ladybug did her miraculous ladybug all around the world, ending everyone's nightmares. We see here an Adrien that's terribly angry towards his father, that he remembers exactly what he did to him, fresh in his mind, as he screams, "Dad!" Not father, but dad. Pay attention to that. Adrien had no idea on what was coming for him and how his reaction would change in a matter of minutes. When Adrien sees that Bugnoir comes with Kagami and Cruella, but not his father, he starts to question things. We see a facial expression of innocence, of denial, as Bugnoir slowly loses her ground and starts trying to form the words to explain the situation harmlessly as possible. His face breaks in shock. The way his breath starts to shorten, his eyes shrunk in size as they start shaking in disbelief. This scene was played out incredibly. He went from being extremely furious at his father to then be in denial of the events that occurred to him afterwards, to then growing shock. All of these unexpected emotions blurred in his head all at once caused so many reactions out of him as he slowly starts to process everything. And here is where he breaks down. When we see him get angry at Bugnoir, blaming her, something that many people didn't expect from him. And it's sadder knowing that Marinette blames herself enough already, so hearing it from Adrien, from the one she would leave it all behind for, is just sad. But I obviously think it's reasonable for Adrien to react the way he did. I mean, be serious, he just found out his father died. Lie or not, his father died. And what broke me like crazy is when he started to say, "Dad." These words are so important to get to know his character, because Adrien in the show has never called Gabriel dad willingly. He always called him father. The only reason he did earlier in season 5 was because his father told him so. And by him to say dad now, straight out of his mind, is referencing what Adrien seeks at the moment. What a child would always seek: a parent, a mom, a dad. The first time he said dad in this episode was showcased as a child seeking for their parents as they seemed to fail him. And then the others were as a way to express the desire of needing a parent more than ever before. Because that's what Adrien always wanted his father to be: a dad. That's why this lie can adjust to Adrien immediately, because deep down, that's what he always wanted to hear from his dad. He wanted one day for his dad to wake up and be the good person Adrien always thought he could be, because that's what he seeks. What a child would seek from their parents: that they love them and protect them. But we all know that the perfect bubble will break at some point, and he will need to find out the harsh truth. Moving on, I want to talk about Alix's role in the special. Now, knowing that the Bunny Miraculous will be active for that long in Alix's hand doesn't necessarily indicate that they will be fighting villains for that long of a period, since the show has pretty much made it known that the universe will always need a Garden of Time to look up and take care of the order of events, making sure that the timeline is going how it's supposed to go, because one single mistake in whatever period of time could change everything. I love Alix and Marinette's friendship throughout this special. They're such a good duo and their dynamic is terribly underrated. It's just so wholesome and I think that Alix's character was exactly what Marinette needed at the time. Also, Alix once again proves that she is literally the fandom. Next, I want to analyze Chronobug. A lot of us wonder why exactly was her suit yellow in the special. And I think this is because of what Alix mentions earlier in the episode, which is that because they'll be traveling through time, Ladybug would need a suit that could distinguish her from other ladybugs found in their journey. So you guys know that as you transform, you are the one that desires how you look, since your suit is supposed to represent whatever you want it to represent. In this case, Marinette's need to highlight herself through timeline made her suit specific to her desires. And I love the little Easter egg that as she transforms, we get to see the old transformation music back, making it so nostalgic. Something I love about Chronobug is the confidence boost. This episode extremely focused on character reflection and growth by comparing past and present, as we find Marinette conflicting with her decisions and going through a tough time overall. This doesn't stop her from succeeding in her mission and confronting the villain, making a promise to herself and the world, just how she once did with Hawkmoth's first appearance. She did it here too, with the new Hawkmoth. And it's so ironic because it's a complete different person with complete different circumstances and motives. But still, the one premise stays the same, no matter how different things were from now. I want to take a moment and talk about the origin scene reference, which is one of my favorite things in the special, which, kid you not, made me want to start crying. Its symbolism is so important and heartwarming. It's something worth pointing out. In the bureau, we see that since Marinette's earrings got stolen, she will need to borrow them from her past self without interfering with timeline. And we see that the scene where she borrows her miraculous was in no other than Origins, because it was the one moment when she first renounced her miraculous. Once she gets into that timeline, we see how Marinette starts looking around. Her room being so different. Her being so different. And that's the impression we get from Marinette. Things were simpler. And this is exactly how a lot of us fans feel when we watch earlier seasons of the show. The stakes weren't as high as they were now. And in this scene especially, back then, Marinette's only worry was turning in her homework on time. And it's nostalgic for her and for us. I like that as Marinette is teleported here, we hear Tom say, "Young Ladybug will fix everything." And once again, even if it's completely different circumstances, hearing those words bring the same reassuring feeling that it brought her since. And once present timeline Marinette leaves, the past Marinette says how Alia will make an amazing ladybug. And it's such a wistful feeling, because she says this having no idea that she will be saving the whole entire universe later on. And even Tiki knew that she will be an incredible ladybug holder because she already saw it. And that makes me look at Origin so differently now. Then after Marinette leaves, she says, "Whoa, that felt like 10 years ago." The writers knew exactly what they were doing right here. It's so funny because for us, next year, Miraculous will be 10 years old, while for the characters, it's only been a year. But I mean, even for them, it makes sense because they have gone through so much that what occupied their minds back then is completely different at what it is now. They just feel so grown. Finally, I want to wrap this up by talking about Lila. This is the part of the episode where I got mixed feelings because of two particular things. First, because Lila is making the wish. and second because they are not letting her know Ladybug's identity. Now, hear me out. Lila making the wish was a little disappointing because it just seemed very repetitive. Like we have gone through the whole wish subplot for 5 seasons with Gabriel, and it's not just as exciting as it once was anymore. Or at least that's what it looks like. I just hope that after this event, Lila has an ulterior motive that can grasp our attention and complete interest to her villain arc. And with Ladybug's identity, guys, I will never get tired of saying this, but I think Lila should 100% know her identity. I think they are limiting her character like crazy. I think this could be one of the main reasons on how her villain arc differs from Gabriel's. Because people are only thinking about what will Gabriel do if he had this information, since he was the only villain present. But Lila is completely different, and I really hope the writers see her potential. Honestly, I still believe she knows Marinette's identity because of the way the special ended. In the ending scene, we see how she says, "So, you think you can outsmart me, huh, Ladybug? Let's see who finds who first." Then, in the last scene of the finale, which happens after this, she says, "Looking forward to seeing you soon, Marinette." Like, huh? Why would she all of a sudden switch her focus on Ladybug, whom she was extremely angry about, to then Marinette? I don't know about you, but I feel like they are just not telling us something. Though, I must say, something I did like about Lila in this episode, which at first I was very critical about, was Lila's planned displacement. It surprised me how well thought out was her plan. I mean, the second she got her hands on the miraculous, she akumatized herself, went to her room to get the objects she needed for her plan, like the watches and the notebook, to then akumatize herself again to get the miraculous, and just like that, make the wish to fully finish her plan. It really showcases her critical thinking abilities, and I am sure that she already had this plan in mind before she even got the miraculous. Because everything was extremely calculated, her every move. Gabriel was all talk, no doing, while Lila, during this whole thing, never said a word. While she was fighting Ladybug, spying, etc. She just did the action, and very significant actions with impactful consequences. Well, just look how she was about to bring the end of the universe in her first time using that miraculous. We already are seeing how different her character will be from Gabriel's, just by seeing the comparison on how Gabriel's arc ended by making the wish, while her arc starts with her making the wish. Also, how she put it the bruise upside down. The symbolism. And if she can do that much damage on her first fight, imagine how it will be later on. Lila and Marinette both have the same level of intelligence, just that one uses it for good and the other one for evil. Two sides of the same coin, which is why their fights are going to be so much more different, because they're both extremely clever. Their rivalry disposal this season is going to bring a whole new interest in the show. And I am so glad people are finally seeing how intimidating her character as a villain can be. To conclude this analysis, let's talk about the final Ladynoir scene and how this scene reflects how much they have grown as partners and how their dynamic could play out in future seasons. This scene was beautifully animated and communicated. It sets up the bittersweet atmosphere, everything explicitly intentional. With the fervent glooming weather, hearing the raindrops in the background, the little light in the sky, symbolizing the little light left in the situation. Each angle to settle the tension between the characters, the fitting music, the dialogues bringing comfort, but a maroon type of feeling, wrapping everything up for the next season, and officially giving an end to the Gabriel aggressed arc that started in the rain and ended in the rain, saying our last goodbyes to this animation that has carried us through years. Now, when we go to the relationship with the characters portrayed in this scene, we can see how each enters the area with feelings that they are still processing. But even if they are different, they join and become the same. Chat Noir doesn't even know where to start, how to express the feelings he's going through. Because in his perspective, he feels horrible that he left Ladybug alone, especially after hearing that she got hurt in the process based off that lie. He can't narrate the emotions he's experiencing after realizing his last parent just died. And Ladybug, whose words can't form, can fully convey everything that she went through in such a short amount of time. Everything is still processing in her head. She doesn't know where to stand, just the burden of a huge secret. Not being able to have a shoulder to cry on. I love how in this scene, we see that even if they are going through hard times and not being able to communicate that with each other immediately, they trust each other enough to realize what the other person needs and being able to wait. Being aware that sometimes people don't feel completely ready to inform the other about a certain circumstance as they cry in each other's arms, letting those bottled up feelings go, indicating their growth as partners. Because these were the same people that 2 seasons ago, they struggled on communication based on trust. I like that the reason why Chat Noir doesn't know the truth isn't because she still doesn't trust him, which would not make any sense story-wise. But instead, she is planning to tell him, but when she's fully ready. Now, what she doesn't know is that time will run out, and unexpectedly, the truth will come to light in a way that will take a bad turn, which is why this scene foreshadows what could possibly go on. This special was overall bittersweet. Them saying like old times, bringing nostalgia to play, bringing you excitement closer to a chapter in our lives, like if we're growing up with the characters, entering a new era, entering a new adventure as we see them close off this special with the change of animation, which right away looks beautiful to assure us that sentiment as well. Anyways, what did you think about the special? What was the theme that got your attention the most? Have a miraculous day and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!